In this episode today of our exploration of the true history of Hindustan, we will start evaluating or understanding or remembering the true history of the technical and scientific position of Hindustan before the arrival of the invaders and destruction of the nation. I hope you know that most of the scientific and technical discoveries which are now attributed in the names of the European or Western scientists were already invented, already discovered by the important acharyas or scientists of Hindustan thousands of years before the same were reinvented or rediscovered by the European scientists. The reason why our acharyas and their inventions or discoveries were not known to the world, or why the external world didn't know about the inventions and discoveries of our acharyas, is only because the first central government, which came into existence after 1947, declared that Sanskrit is a dead language. So naturally, nobody were inspired to go and explore the details recorded in a dead language. And that is what happened. But you know, almost a year ago, the engineers, the software engineers of Silicon Valley, they declared that Sanskrit is the best language for software development. And if you go to Google and search what is meant by Sanskrit effect, you will be surprised what was discovered by the Japanese scientists about the language Sanskrit. Okay, that's another part. Let us keep it apart. And now we start knowing some of the most important acharyas of Hindustan and about their discovery. So the first acharya whom we are going to be familiar with now is Acharya Bauthayana. So let us see a brief detail about him. And in the next episodes, we will be knowing one by one most of the important acharyas of Hindustan. So as I have mentioned, the subjects we are going to handle today in this episode and in a couple of the following episodes are scientific and technical status of Hindustan before the arrival of the invaders, and to find sufficient details to understand that Hindustan was scientifically advanced since 6000 BC. Know some of the most important and famous of our acharyas or acharyas of Hindustan and their discoveries based on certain historical facts. This is the first acharya with whom we are going to be familiar from today onwards. That is Acharya Bauthayana, as I have already mentioned, who lived around 850 BC. Here we have a brief description about him. Bauthayana, who lived around 800 BC, was an Indian mathematician who was most likely also a priest. He is noted as the author of the earliest Sulba Sutra. Sulba Sutra is appendices to the Vedas, giving rules for the construction of altars called Bauthayana Sulba Sutra, which contains several important mathematical results. He is older than the other famous mathematician Apastamba. He was also another acharya or another mathematician of Hindustan. And Acharya Bauthayana, he belonged to the Yajurveda school. He is accredited with calculating the value of pi before Pythagoras and with discovering what is presently known as Pythagoras theorem. See how the famous theorem was documented in our Vedas. Here we have other details related to theorem which was documented by Acharya Bauthayana. And what are Sulba Sutras? Roughly translating, Sulba Sutras are called the rules of the codes, a series of 9 texts dated throughout the first millennia BC. Their contents are an amalgam of ritual, altar construction, spiritual knowledge, and mathematics, including the approximation of root 2, circling the square. The more prominent authors of Sulba Sutras are Acharya Bauthiyana, Acharya Apastamba, Acharya Katyayana, and Acharya Manava. Here we have some more details about the Sulba Sutras. That is, the beginning of algebra can be traced to the constructional geometry of the Vedic priests, which are preserved in Sulba Sutras. Exact measurement, orientation, and different shapes for the altars and arenas used for the religious functions are described in Sulba Sutras. Here we have some extracts from the Katyayana Sulba Sutra. Due to the age of the document and the copies I have, these are not so clear, but still you can identify that these are all geometrical figures with the calculations of the angles and other measurements of geometrical figures. Here we have more clear demonstration of the designs, the geometrical figures, the calculations, etc. with more detail. This is a small volume of a book composed in this way, as we have seen during the last episode. See how they were bind together, making a book which is easy to handle. We will continue this exploration to know about our acharyas and their technical and scientific contributions. So we will be able to understand or convince ourselves that the technical and scientific inventions, most of them were initially invented in Hindustan by our acharyas, and they are only reinvented by the European or Western scientists later, after thousands of years later. In the next episode, we will continue this exercise. So if you are convinced that these information are important for a true son or a true daughter of Hindustan, please share these episodes with your friends and relatives of the new generation. And subscribe the channel also, just not to lose any of the episodes I'll be posting. So thank you very much for paying attention to my words. Jai Hind.